Hey everyone, this is a video of a walkthrough of the SAT Practices 1 Math Module 1 and 2. I scored perfectly in the SAT Math on my first try, so I'm going to be teaching you my strategies and insights on each question. Let's begin. Okay, number 1, what is 10% of 470? So we can figure this out by turning 10% into a decimal, so that would be 0.1, and then multiplying it by 470. So the final answer is 47. Which equation has the same solution as the given equation? So I'm noticing that all the answer choices have 4x. So we're going to try and solve for 4x alone. So we can just look at the equation and see that by subtracting 6 from both sides, we're going to get 4x equals 12, which is answer choice C. The total cost in dollars to rent a surfboard consists of a $25 service fee and $10 per hour rental fee. A person rents a surfboard for T hours and intends to spend a maximum of $75 to rent the surfboard. Which inequality represents this situation? So it says that it's $25 service fee and $10 per hour after T hours. So we're going to have 10T plus 25 is is less than or equal to 75. So in this case, 10T represents the hourly expense, and then 25 represents the initial cost after like 0 hours of just using the service, and greater than or less than, or less than or equal to basically means they're spending a maximum of $75. And that's this answer. The function g is defined by g of x equals x squared plus 9. For which value of x is g of x 25? So we're given that g of x and g of x are both equal to 25 and x squared plus 9. So we can set them up equal to each other, and then we can solve for x. So subtract 9 from both sides and square root both sides. X is 4. Each face of a fair 14-sided die is labeled from number 1 to 14 with a different number appearing on each face. If a die is rolled one time, what is the probability of it rolling a 2? So basically how probability works is it's what it could be, so like probable solutions over like all solutions. So I don't know the best way to explain this, but in this case, the probable solutions are like 2, and that's it. So there's only one solution that it's asking for, and then there's 14 things that it could be. So the probability is 1 over 14. There's a 1 in 14 chance of you getting a 2. A printer produces posters at a constant rate of 14 posters per minute. At what rate in posters per hour does the printer produce posters? So it's 42 posters per minute, and it's asking for how many in an hour. So there's 60 minutes in an hour. So there's going to be 60 times 42 posters per hour. And if you plug that into the calculator, you're going to get 2,520. The function f is defined by the equation f of x equals 7x plus 2. Which of the following of f of x is equal to, or what is the value of f of x when x equals 4? So this is easy. You can just plug in 4 for x into the equation, and that's 30. So f of x is going to be 30. Number 8, a teacher is grading an assignment with 70 points. The assignment will consist of questions worth 1 point and questions worth 3 points, where x represents the number of 1-point questions and y represents the number of 3-point questions. So we can set this up by saying 1x, so 1 representing the 1 here represents the number of points per number of x questions worth 1 point. plus 3y. So 3 being the number of points per y, which is the 3-point questions, and that equals 70. And x 1 times x is just x, so that's going to be this one. Right triangles LMN and PQR are similar, where all the angles are corresponding to each other. So it's saying, well, when angle M is 53, what's Q? And we can see that angle M here corresponds to Q here. So they're both in the middle and they're similar. So both of them are going to be the same angle, which means that since M is 53, Q is also going to be 53. The solution to the given systems of equation is xy. What is the value of x? So for solving for x, we want to get only x in the problem and then just isolate it. So we can plug this in for y here, and we're going to get x minus 3x equals 15, which is then just going to simplify to x equals 15. Which of the following equations is the most appropriate linear model for the data shown in the scatter plot? So we can see that this is going down, which means it has a negative slope, and the y-intercept is above 0, so it's going to be positive. And using that, we can eliminate all those 3 answer choices, and we're left with B. The graph of y equals f of x is shown, where the function is defined by this. And a, b, and c are all constants. For how many values of x does f of x equal 0? So when f of x is 0, it's just saying when the graph basically intercepts the x-axis, or when the graph is y equals 0, which happens at 3 points. Vivian bought party hats and cupcakes for $71. Each package of party hats cost $3, and each cupcake cost $1. If Vivian bought 10 packages of party hats, how many cupcakes did she buy? So she bought 10 packages, and each package is $3. We can multiply that. She spent $30. So out of the $71, 30 were spent on party hats. So we're left with $41 left. And each cupcake is only $1. So 41 divided by 1 is going to be 41 again. So she bought 41 cupcakes. What is one of the solutions to the given equation? We can factor this and we get, so, okay, because this is negative, that means one of them is going to be negative and one of them is going to be positive. And because this is positive, that means that the one that has the plus sign is going to be bigger. So I think it's going to be 12 and 2. So the solutions will be, this turns to positive 2, and this turns to negative 12. Yeah, okay. Bacteria are growing in a liquid growth medium. There are 300,000 cells per millimeter during an initial observation. The number of cells per millimeter doubles every 3 hours. How many cells per millimeter will there be 15 hours after the initial observation? So it's saying every 3 hours it doubles, and 15 hours are in the experiment. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. So it's saying that it's going to double 5 times, which can be written as 2 to the 5th. So 2 to the 5th is going to equal 32. So it's going to multiply 32 by this to find how many cells are going to be in the experiment 15 hours later. And we can basically just multiply the first two numbers, 3 times 3. The answer is going to start with a 9, and we're left with that one. Which expression is equivalent to this plus this? Okay, looking at this, I'm looking at the answer choices. They all have a greatest common factor. So the we're going to take 6x squared and then y squared out of these two. So it's going to be 6x squared y squared times x to the sixth times, time plus this, and then 2. Okay, and that's going to equal 6x squared y squared times x to the sixth plus 2. C. Consists of a 2-hectare park and a 35-hectare residential area. The total number of trees in the neighborhood is 3,934. The equation 2x plus 35y equals 3,934 represents the situation. Which of the following is the best interpretation of x in this context? So we can see that 2 corresponds to this 2 here. So x in this case is the number of trees in 1-hectare park, which is A. Shows the relationship between the number of shares from stock A, X, and the number of shares from stock B, Y, that someone can purchase. Which equation could represent this relationship? Okay, so we can notice that the y-intercept is 40, so it's not going to be A or C. And if we if we divide 12 from here, from every integer there, we can get 8 over 12x plus y equals 40, which then turns into y equals negative 8 over 12 x plus 40. And since it's not going to be d because we just divided 480 by 12 and got 40, which matches the y-intercept. And this one is 8x, and 480 divided by 8 is 60. So we know that that's not going to line up. Circle A has a radius of 3n. And here, I'll draw it better. And circle B has a radius of 129n. How many times greater is the area of circle B than circle A? Okay, so the formula for calculating the area of a circle is pi r squared. So we're going to find out how many times bigger the radius is first, and then we're going to plug in the radius into the equation to find out how many times bigger the area is. So 129 divided by 3 is 43. So the radius is 43 times bigger. And then if you plug in 43 into r squared, you get this number. So the answer is D. The frequency table summarizes 57 data values in a data set. What is the maximum data value in the data set? So just asking for the biggest number in these values, which is 14. So the answer is 14. A circle in the xy plane has a diameter with endpoints 2, 4, and 214. So 2, 4, 214. That means this is 10 units across. So the radius is 5. An equation of this circle is x minus 2 squared, y minus 9 squared equals r squared, where r is a constant. Okay, so we just figured out that the radius is 5. And if you don't know circle equation, this is what it looks like. So r is the radius, r is 5. The measure of angle r is 2 pi over 3 radians. The measure of angle t is 5 pi over 12 radians greater than the measure of angle r. What is the measure of angle t in degrees? So for this question, you have to understand that pi radians is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so now that we understand that, we can add these together to find the total amount of radians, and that's going to be 13 pi over 12, and that's just over, it's going to be just over 1 pi. It's going to be about like 1.1 pi roughly, and that is, now that we know that pi is 180 degrees and it's just over 1 pi, it's going to be just over 180 degrees, or 195. A certain town has an area of 4.36 square miles. What is the area in square yards of this town? Okay, so let's map it out. So we got the area is 4.3 square miles. So that means that each side here is going to be the square root of this, which is, we're going to estimate, just because all these answers are so different, we can round it a little bit and still get the right answer. So it's going to be about like 2.15 times 2.15, and then 2.15 miles, we can convert that to yards now, equals about 4,000 yards times 4,000 yards. And then we can find the square yards. 4,000 times 4,000 equals about, or it's 16 million. But again, this answer is rounded. So 16 million is closest to 13.5 million. For line H, the table shows 3 values of x and their corresponding values of y. Line K is the result of translating line H down 5 units in the xy plane. What is the x-intercept of line K? Okay, so this is line H. So let's turn this into an equation. So x goes down, x increases 5, and y increases 30, which means that the slope is going to be 6x. And we can figure out the x, or the y-intercept, by saying 6 times 18, which I'm getting from here, is 108, and then subtract 130 from 108, and we're going to get, when x is 0, y is 22. Okay, this is line H. Okay, now we're trying to find line K. In order to find line K, we need to translate it down 5 units. And translation's basically when you just move the line. So we're just moving the line down 5 units. So line K the slope's going to be the same, but the y-intercept's going to be 5 lower. So that's line K. Now it's asking for the x-intercept. The x-intercept is when y is 0. So we can plug in 0 for y. 0 equals 6x plus 17. And now we're trying to get x alone. So 6x equals negative 17. X equals negative 17 over 6. And that's this one. And you can see that that's the x value, and y is 0. In the xy plane, the graph of the equation y equals negative x squared plus 9x minus 100 intercepts the line y equals c at exactly 1 point. What is the value of c? Okay, now you can solve this with Desmos relatively easily, but I'm going to solve it algebraically. So this is a parabola which starts with a negative as the a value. So we know that if this is the graph, then that's going to be the parabola facing downwards, because this is negative. And it says it intersects y equals c, which means it's horizontal. This line's going to be horizontal because y is a fixed value, and saying it intersects it at 1 point, which means it's going to look like this. where it only intersects at this point. So we're trying to find the vertex of this parabola, and that's going to be where it intersects. So the vertex of this can be found using this vertex equation, negative b over 2a, in which negative 1 is a, 9 is b, and negative 100 is c. So negative b is going to be negative 9 over 2a is negative 2, which is just 9 over 2. So the vertex is at x equals 9 over 2. But we're trying to find the y value. So we got to plug this back into the equation. So negative 9 over 2 squared plus 9. Let me erase this. 9 over 2 minus 100. And you're going to get, I think it's 79.75, which is the same as this. And you can check that with your calculator. For each real number r, which of the following points lies on the graph of each equation in the xy plane for the given system? So we can see in the answer choices that it's a coordinate. So this is the x value and this is the y value. So it's saying, and for which of these answer choices can we plug in the x value and the y value? Can we plug like the x coordinate into the x here and the x and the y value into the y value here and it equal 7? And also these equations are equivalent because if you multiply 2 by 5 you get 10, 3 by 5 you get 15, and 7 by 5 you get 35. So we only need to plug in to like one of these equations. I'm going to go with the top one because it's simpler. So we got to choose which one to plug into. Just for like time efficiency, I'm going to go, this is the correct answer choice. You could probably save a little time by looking at how the x coordinate, everything's over 2, and how you multiply it by 2 here. So you could like maybe speed up the process, but like, yeah, you're probably just gonna have to plug in x into x and like just like figure out, like guess and check. So I'm just gonna do it here. So 2 3r2 plus 7 2, and then plus 3r. That's going to be negative 3r plus 7 plus 3r equals 7. These cancel out, 7 equals 7. The perimeter of an equilateral triangle is 624 centimeters. The height of the triangle is k times the square root of 3 centimeters, where k is a constant. What is the value of k? So an equilateral triangle is when all sides of the triangle and all angles of the triangle are the same. And it's saying that the perimeter of the triangle is 624. So divide that by 3 sides, which means that each side of the triangle is 208. Okay, now that we have that, it's asking for the height. And this is the height of the triangle. So we can take that apart right here. And this is half of 280, so that's 104. This is 208 still. And if we refer down here, we got a reference we can use. So we'd notice that x times the square root of 3 is the height. So we can plug 104, because this is x, this is 2x, this is x times 3, or x times the square root of 3. So it's going to be 104 times square root of 3. So then this matches with this. K equals 104. Question 1. Tilly earns P dollars for every W hours of work. Which expression represents the amount of money in dollars Tilly earns for 39 W hours of work? So this is just a one-to-one, like P dollars goes with W hours of work. So this means that 39 W hours directly correlates with 39 P dollars made. So A is the correct answer. For a training program, Juan rides his bike at an average rate of 5.7 minutes per mile, which function M models the number of minutes it will take Juan to ride X miles at this rate. So it's saying after 5.7 minutes, he will complete 1 mile. So D perfectly answers this. It says that 5.7 times every mile X will get the amount of minutes completed. So that's the correct answer. The solution to the given systems of equation xy, or what's the value of y? Okay, so if we're trying to find the value of y, I think the best solution would be solve. Okay, so we know x is going to be 4, because 3 times 4 is going to be 12. So x equals 4. Then we can plug 4 into this. So we're going to get 3 times 4 plus y equals negative 6. So negative 12 plus y equals negative 6. Add 6 to both sides. And then y is going to be 6. The equation gives the speed s in miles per hour of a certain car t seconds after it began to accelerate. What is the speed in miles per hour of the car 5 seconds after it began to accelerate? So we can just plug in 5 for t. So 40 plus 3 times 5, 40 plus 15, 55. D. For the right triangle shown, A equals 4, B equals 5, which of the following, or which expression represents the value of C? So for this, we have to know Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And if we're trying to find c, then we find the square root of everything. So it'd be square root of a squared plus b squared equals just c, which is, in this case, 4 is a and 5 is b, so it'd be D. What's the solution to the given equation? So we're trying to find x alone, so we can subtract 5 from both sides and then divide by 4, and we get 40. The x-intercept of the graph shown is x for the x value and 0 for the y value. What is the value of x? So we can see here that the y value is 0 at x equals 7, so x is going to be 7. The function f is defined by f of x equals 1 over 10x minus 2. What is the y-intercept of the graph y equals f of x in the xy plane? So the y-intercept is when x equals 0. So if you plug 0 in for x, this is going to all turn to 0. You're going to be left with negative 2. So it's going to be 0 for x, then negative 2 for y. The function f is defined by f of x equals 7x to the cubed root, or cubed. In the xy plane, the graph of y equals g of x is the result of shifting the graph of y equals f of x down 2 units, which equation defines function g. So you're just shifting it down 2 units, so you're just going to have the same equation minus 2, which is D. Which ordered pair xy is a solution to the given systems of equation? Okay, so we can easily solve x here by just subtracting 7 from both sides, so x is going to be 3. Then we can plug that into the second equation. And 3 plus 7 squared equals y. 10 squared equals y. Y equals 100. So x is 3, y is 100. That's A. Which expression is equivalent to this? So we can distribute the minus sign, and we can get okay, this is a plus sign. So then we can just combine like terms, and it's x cubed plus 10x. Function p is defined by p of n equals 7n cubed. What is the value of n when p of n is equal to 56? So 56 equals 7n cubed. You can divide both sides by 7. 8 equals n cubed. Find the cubed root of both sides, and you're left with n equals 2. In the figure shown, line C intersects parallel lines S and T. What is the value of x? So because these are parallel, because these two are parallel, you can just know that this is also going to be 110, and you can figure out that this whole arc has to be 180. So 180 minus 110 is 70. So x is going to be 70. A list of 10 values is shown. What is the mean of the data? So the mean is basically the same as saying what's the average. And the way you calculate the average is you have the sum of all the values over the number of values. So in this case, the sum of these, if you plug it in the calculator, you can just add them all together. It's going to be 100. And since there's 5 on the side, 5 on the side, there's 10 total values. And that means the final answer is going to be 10. The equation E of t equals 5 times 1.8 to the power of t gives the estimated number of employees at a restaurant, where t is the number of years since the restaurant opened. Which of the following is the best interpretation of the number 5 in this context? So when you're looking at this equation, it's an exponential equation because it has the number t as an exponent. So in this case, the first number is going to be the y-intercept. The second number is going to be the how many times bigger the next number is than the previous, and t is like x. So for every increase in t, the next number is 1.8 times the previous number. So in this context, when t is 0, 1.8 is going to turn to 1, and then 1 times 5 is 5. So it's the estimated number of employees when the restaurant just opened, because t is like the year since it opened. So that's 0, and then 5 is the number of employees. What is the minimum value of the given function? So you can see that the coefficient is going to be 1. So it's going to be facing upwards. And that means that, and it's also just x squared. So it's going to be the y-intercept is going to be at x equals 0. So the y-intercept, or the minimum value, is 55. Each year, the value of the investment increases by 0.49% of its value the previous year. Which of the following functions best models how the value of the investment changes over time? So it's going to be increasing exponentially because it increases by it's not increasing a fixed amount. 49% of the previous year means that it compounds on itself. So it's going to be a little bit more each year because it's building on itself. The population of Greenville increased by 7% from 2015 to 2016. If the 2015 or if the 2016 population is k times the 2015 population, what is the value of k? So 7 times greater is just the same as 1.07 times greater, which is C. Which expression is equivalent to a to the power of 11 over 12? So you should understand that, like, basically this is equal to this. Okay, so now that we understand that, we can look at the answer choices, and the one that stands out is B. So that turns into A equals, it's going to be 144 over 132, which can be simplified down to A is, wait, oh, it's going to be, so, okay, yeah, it's going to be 132 over 144, which is 11 over 12. Okay, yeah, so that's the right answer. An event planner is planning a party. It costs the event planner a one-time fee of $35 to rent the venue and $10.25 per attendee. The event planner has a budget of $200. What's the greatest number of attendees possible without exceeding the budget? So it's going to be 10 x 10.25x plus 35 is less than or equal to 200. So we can subtract 35 from both sides. And then subtract or divide x from both sides. Or no, subtract 10.25 from both sides. And that is like just over 16. It's about 16.1. So x is less than or equal to 16.1. So you can't have 16.1 attendees, and it has to be less than 16. So x is going to be 16. Okay. Number 21. If the absolute value of 4x minus 4 is 112, what's a positive value of x minus 1? Okay, so looking at the equation, we can basically just eliminate the absolute value and just do this, because this is going to be positive anyway, so we don't need the absolute value. That's just like distracting us, so because it's going to be positive no matter what. So 4x minus 1, we can factor it out. It was 112, and you can divide both sides by 4. So x minus 1 equals 29, or 28, I think. Yeah, it's going to be 28. A cube has an edge length of 68 inches. A solid sphere has a radius of 34 inches inside the cube. So, okay. Okay, so there's like a cube with a sphere inside of it. Okay, so how much space is there not being taken up? Or how much space is there? Okay, yeah. So it's basically saying, like, what's the space where the sphere is not touching the cube? So I think the best way to solve this is to take the volume of the cube, which is L time, or length times width times height, and then subtract the volume of the cube, which is 4 over 3 pi r cubed. And both of these equations are on the reference sheet at the front of the math section. So edge length is 68 and radius is 34, so we can plug these in. So it's going to be 68 cubed minus 4 over 3 pi 34 cubed. Okay, I'm going to plug this into my calculator. So we get 3, 4, 4, 3, or minus. Okay, I plugged it in my calculator and it's about 49,000, which is answer A. The diameter of the circle in the xy plane with the equation here. So the diameter can be found by using the radius, which is the square root of the last number. So in the circle equation, this number is going to be r squared. So if we take the square root of 16, we can find the radius, which is 4. And then the diameter is double the radius. So 4 times 2 is 8. For the exponential function f, the value of f of 1 is k, where k is a constant. Which of the following equivalent forms of the function f shows the value of k as a coefficient or a base? So it's saying that if we plug in x equals 1 into the equation, we're going to get an answer in which that number is written as one of these two numbers. Like, the answer is already in the answer choice. So let's just plug it in to each one and figure out which one it is. So we can plug in x is 1 into this one, and we're going to get 1 plus 1, which is just squared. And then we're going to get something that's over 100, so it's definitely not this one. And then, okay, so this one is just going to be 80 times 1.6, because anything to the power of 1 is itself, which is going to be something higher than anything written in the problem, so it's not that. And then C is saying 1 minus 1, so it would be 128 times 1 minus 1, which is 0. Anything to the 0th power is going to be 1, unless it's negative. So that would be 128 times 1, which is 128. So this is correct because it lists 128 as a coefficient and also as the answer when x is 1. The model estimates that the end of each year from 2015 to 2020, the number of squirrels in the population was 150% more than the number of squirrels in the population at the end of the previous year. The model estimates that at the end of 2016, there were 180 squirrels in the population. Which of the following equations represents this model, where n is the number of squirrels in the population t years after the end of 2015? So it's saying it increases 150%. So if we already have like 1 is basically already 100%. So we're adding 150 on top of that. So it's going up by 2.5 times. So we can eliminate this one and this one. And it's saying in 2016, there were 180 squirrels. So we're trying to find the initial value, which means that it's going to be 180 times 1 over 2.5. So it's not going to be 180 because we're trying to find 2015 and not 2016. So we're going to go backwards one step, and that's going to be 72. So it's going to be this one because 2.5, 72, 72, 2.5. In the given pair of equations, a and b are constants. The graph of this pair of equations in the xy plane is a pair of perpendicular lines. Which of the following pairs of equations is also a pair of perpendicular lines? Okay, so you can find out if what the slope of a line is perpendicular. So like, let's say a certain slope is 7 over 10, which it is in a lot of the equations in this problem. Then the reciprocal of that, you would flip them, so 10 over 7, and then add a negative. So it's the reciprocal so it's not going to be equal. It's just going to be, so 10 over 7 is 10 over 7's reciprocal is going to be negative 10 over 7. Okay, now that we know that, we can rewrite these equations in standard form. So it's going to be y equals negative 5 over 7 plus 1 x. Oops, I forgot to add the x. And this one's going to turn to y equals negative a over bx plus 1. Okay, so it's saying that they're perpendicular lines. So we know that 5 over 7, the reciprocal of that is going to be the perpendicular slope. So that's going to be 7 over 5. Trying to erase. Okay, never mind. Oh. Okay, so then we know that these are going to be equal because it's saying that this is the perpendicular slope of this. So now that we know that, we can basically just guess and check for all of these until we find the right answer that matches up and it's perpendicular. So the correct answer is going to be B. So I'm just going to save time here and pretend that we already did A. So we're just going to plug it in. We're going to turn these into the standard form and then figure out if the second equation is perpendicular to the first one. So we got y equals, I'm just turning it into standard form, y equals 10 over 7 x plus 1. And we don't even need to, like, no, plus 1 isn't really, we don't care about that. We're just caring about the slope and how, if it's perpendicular or not. So then this is going to turn to y equals negative a, oh wait, I think I forgot to add, okay, this is going to be a negative 10 over 7. And then it's going to be negative a over 2bx plus 1. Okay, so if we turn this into its perpendicular, then it's going to be 7 over 10. And since we know this, negative a over b is 7 over 5. The negative a over 2b is going to be 7 over 10. So these two match. The answer is B. In the given equation, c is a constant. The equation has no real solutions if c is greater than n. What is the least possible value for n? Okay, so for this problem, you have to understand what the discriminant is. So the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. It's part of the quadratic formula, and you can use like the coefficients a, b, and c, plug them in, and if this is less than 0, there's no solutions. If it's equal to 0, then there's one solution. And if it's greater than 0, then there are two solutions. So in this problem, we're trying to find out the equation has no real solutions if c is greater than n. What is the least value for n? Okay. So we're going to set it as less than, and we're going to solve for c because we don't know c here. And whatever c is going to be the least possible value, because anything greater, it would be equal to 0, which means that, yeah, the least possible value would be that number. Okay, so b is negative 34. Okay, I'm going to plug this in my calculator. So we get and then C is going to equal 289. But it's asking for the least possible value of n, which is going to be the same thing, 289. Okay, so now it's a little bit hard to understand, but let's say we have like 290, for example. If 290 was C, then this would actually be, then this would be greater than 0. So the equation would have one or two solutions. So it's asking, the equation has no real solutions when C is n, or C, when C is greater than n. So what's the least possible value for n? And it's 289. Thanks for joining me. If you have any questions about the solutions I got, feel free to drop a comment. And if you have any constructive criticism, drop a comment as well. If you found this video helpful, then drop a like. And if you want to see more content, then drop a comment. And thanks for watching. See ya.